don't know if you know this or not, but the whisper campaigns have started about Ron DeSantis. This is just kind of silly. Ron DeSantis is looking ahead to re-election next year and quite possibly a 2024 bid for president, according to Politico's playbook, which has become increasingly leftist. This is from Politico. We talked to a dozen or so one-time aides and consultants to the Florida governor, and they all said the same thing. DeSantis treats staff like expendable widgets. He largely relies on a brain trust of two, himself and his wife, Casey DeSantis, a former local TV journalist. Beyond that, there are few, if any, DeSantis people as far as political pros are concerned. Yes, DeSantis recently hired highly regarded operative Phil Cox, but there's no savant that he's been through the trenches with, like a Karl Rove or David Axelrod, let alone an army of loyalists. That's probably not fatal to his White House prospects, but it can't help. Here are a few key nuggets. A support group of former DeSantis staffers meets regularly to trade war stories about their hardship working for the governor. The turnover in his office and among his campaign advisors is well known among Republicans. In 3 of his 5 full years in Congress, he ranked in at least the 70th percentile in terms of highest turnover in a House office. In the governor's office, he has had only 2 staffers who started with him when he was a junior member of Congress. Within 6 months of taking office as governor in 2019, DeSantis fired 5 staffers. One was a 23-year-old scheduler who'd been with him since the beginning of the gubernatorial race. Shortly after she was sent packing, an unnamed member of DeSantis' administration was quoted in a Florida blog trashing her performance. A month later, his deputy chief of staff left, prompting Florida reporters to press him about the rapid turn of his operation. Another story relayed to us by 5 former staffers. At the beginning of his administration, DeSantis directed the Florida GOP leader to fire a party officer who had cancer on that person's first week back from surgery. DeSantis often blames his staff for his own blunders. After DeSantis went on Fox News in 2018 and implored Florida voters not to monkey this up by supporting an African-American Democratic opponent for governor, he and his wife chewed out his campaign staff for not cleaning up the mess. And then he brought in a whole new group of advisors. Aides would lure DeSantis to staff meetings with cupcakes, saying it was a colleague's birthday to get him to attend. In the gubernatorial primary, DeSantis visited his campaign headquarters just a couple of times. On election night, he entered the war room after his win and remarked, "Wow, I didn't know this many people worked for me." Whoop-de-freaking-do. Let me tell you what is going on. DeSantis is finally starting to see Republican whisper campaigns against him. They know he's going to win his reelection bid. They know he's going to win. They know he's going to run in 2024. Let me tell you what I've been told by multiple people. The president, Donald Trump, continues to talk about 2024 because it gives him power in 2022 to settle scores. He wants to beat Liz Cheney in Wyoming. He wants to beat Brian Kemp in Georgia and Brad Raffensperger in Georgia. He's got a number of people who with scores to settle. If he says he's not running in 2024, his clout as leader of the party begins to diminish. Through 2022, as long as he keeps up the facade of running in 2024, he's the most powerful man in the Republican Party. But behind the scenes, there is growing doubt that the president wants to run again in 2024. He'll be Joe Biden's age. The left is still coming to sue him constantly. There are people who think maybe he's just not going to want to run in 2024. And they know that if he lays hands on DeSantis as the guy, DeSantis is going to be unstoppable. They're trying to rough him up at this moment before his 2022 campaign, knowing he's going to win in 2022. But if it's closer than it could be, they can begin to sow doubts about DeSantis in 2024. There are a lot of staffers DeSantis has hired, fired, or never hired at all. And by the way, some of this is true. DeSantis apparently is a very tough person to work for. That doesn't mean he's a bad person. It doesn't mean he's a terrible governor. In fact, his results speak for himself. It means he's makes strong demands, high demands. He can be difficult to work for. A lot of people in politics are. And those people he hired and fired or never hired at all are starting to align with other people. They're starting to align with other candidates. They're starting to align with other potential 2024 prospects. And they're whispering about DeSantis now. I told you guys a couple of weeks ago that I would start believing the hits on DeSantis when they came from the GOP. Well, they're starting to come from the GOP. Why are they starting to come from the GOP? I know the answer. There's been some private polling done. DeSantis will be the nominee in 2024 if they can't start reining him in now. In fact, there are some close to the president who believe they themselves need to whisper about DeSantis, lest DeSantis get big enough that he may challenge Donald Trump for the nomination in 2024 if Trump wins or runs. But more so than that, there are a whole lot of Republican candidates who want to run, who see DeSantis as already beginning to lock up the 2024 Republican donors. They need to stop that now so that they can have the money to run against him in 2024. And the best way to do that is to begin the slow walk of roughing DeSantis up. The whispers now of staffers become on-the-record conversations later, become fodder for the press, become fodder for campaign ads. They are desperate to stop DeSantis. And right now, the way they're going about it is he's a difficult person to work for. Do any of you care? The governor of Florida reopened his state. The governor of Florida got things gone. The governor of Florida got things reopened. The governor of Florida stimulated their economy. The governor of Florida got people back into schools. The governor of Florida has built interracial allegiances in Florida and alliances in Florida. The governor of Florida has advanced where other governors have not. There's only one other governor in the nation whose economy is outperforming Florida right now. That's the governor of Georgia, who opened before DeSantis did. But Florida's fired up, ready to go. People are noticing. The latest election polling for DeSantis a year away, and it is polling, so we don't know that it's accurate, but he's got a bipartisan support. Even Democrats are supporting him. Democrats really don't like Charlie Crist. He was a useful opportunist for them when it came to that congressional district, but otherwise the Democrats, there's no love lost there between Florida Democrats and Charlie Crist. He had been their Republican nemesis for a while. And on it goes. So the Republicans who want to run in 2024, they got to stop DeSantis now. And they begin with the whispers. The whispers will go to more news, and the media will love it because they hate DeSantis. Why? Because he thus far has positioned himself pretty strategically as the one person who can unite the non-Trump and Trump wings of the GOP.